Detective Norman, can I join you?
Despite of being a Grand Theft Auto fanboy, I love the Mafia games. I absolutely fell in love with the original Mafia city of Lost Haven. Open world games interest me. Exploring in games is quite a thing for me now. I spend several hours finding objects in game world that is useless. But the curiosity never left me. The driving exploration part is the fun thing for me actually. I love when games immerse you in the universe. The most immersive open world game in my early playing days I recall was Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. That first introduction to Orange Sky made my day, I suppose. But the first doorway to open world was through Vice City. It was very fun sandbox type open world and I was exploring and doing the missions my way. The most fun part was it doesn't hold your hand. You have to explore the city to know your map and your shortcuts. And here comes the Mafia city of Lost Haven. Mafia had a different flavor to it. What makes Mafia apart from GTA is the story that plays out in linear fashion. It was a game with a strong story and film-like atmosphere. A truly underrated silhouette of 1930s crime drama pushed its boundaries. Where GTA was arcade-looking funny sandbox for shoot and fun, Mafia was serious gritty game made for adults. It was the most realistic looking game for me at that time. In this video you will find out why I am calling it realistic and immersive in spite of a linear open world. People tend to love chaotic fun games. Take GTA 3 for example, where Claude takes his revenge destructively and get away with it. The narrative and this type of games regularly portrays on gangsters and the criminal underworld as a canvas gives you the freedom to explore. You feel powerful and the overlooker on the city doesn't bother to obey any rules. I can give you more examples. Saints Row, Sleeping Dogs, Ken and Lynch and a bunch of games plugging into criminal world, searching for this type of subject matter. But the main point is, Mafia doesn't play like that. So why Mafia stands out that time? We need to look at the developing history first. Mafia was developed by Illusion Softworks, founded in 1997, the studio that would eventually become 2K Czech. In that time, Illusion known for a game named Hidden and Dangerous, a World War II simulation game. But in the background, they were developing something new, something fresh. The developing was first started with a protagonist as a police officer fighting crime. It makes sense that Illusion is coming from a war simulation game. But all things changed when Daniel Vara realized his vision.
The redesign of Mafia, game by Illusion Softworks. Mafia is game, 3D action game from the 30s. It's a kind of simulation of the gangster. It's a mixture of racing, shooting, car chases. Lot of game is placed in a huge city from the 30s. So you can use trams and steal cars and drive over people.
Mafia is set in the 1930s, a grittier time in American history. The inspiration of the stories came from the Vara's quote in an interview. The original idea was to let people experience what they would seen in cinemas and to pay tribute to movies like Goodfellas and The Godfather. But as I dug deeper, I began to see these men as people who are unwilling to obey the rules and would rather set their own. I wanted to tell the full story of a gangster, how somebody joins the mafia as a young man, rises almost to the top and then falls down to the bottom. So they scrapped their first development and started a new story fresh. The main story was based around a cab driver named Tommy Angelo, living a mediocre life in fictional New York.
I used to be a taxi driver. Even though I wasn't making much and I worked from dawn to dusk, I was glad to be working.
This game doesn't put you in the fun from the beginning like other games had. You have to play as a taxi driver for several missions. Boring tasks, play a narrative role, portray your slow ascent through the mob in New York City of Lost Heaven. Tommy was not just a gangster. He had a gold heart and have pals. There was an indirect character development in the background. You will care for the pals. It was a mix of drama and action where killing has consequences. 18 years later, Nico Bellic portrays similar type of melancholy, where it unravels the dark and gritty story of criminal underworld. More modern games are circling around Mafia still. I'm really proud of giving players things to do that they didn't usually do in games. I'm proud of the moments in Mafia without violence, like your date with Sarah or when you are loading a truck with boxes or preparing things for a bank robbery. I tried to mix action, drama and humor as in real life. It was risky. The game was very different than anything else out there. A lot of people had worries if it would work. At that time, Illusion was developing their in-house 3D engine named LS3D, which will power Mafia and the sequel to the Hidden and Dangerous 2. The first Hidden and Dangerous was using Insanity 2 engine. The new engine has much faster collision detection, more visual effects.
Tommy used to be a cab driver, but he found himself a new job. He became a mobster. We wanted to create a game that would allow the player to experience the lifestyle of a mobster during the times of Prohibition, and all that was part of it. The player will be able to live through everything connected with the 30s, including wild car chases, shootouts, bootlegging, racketeering, even assassinations. To create a perfect illusion of the 30s, we built a model of an imaginary town that we called Lost Heaven.
There are two factions of gangs in the city. One is Salieri's and the other part ruled by Moriales. So they need a bigger city to show that, and the city was simulated 12 square miles. Streets and vehicles are AI simulated. Several ways to travel by foot or vehicle or transport systems. The most notable upgrade was on the realistic landscapes ever seen on that era. Skyscrapers as well as countryside settings all replicated from actual historic photographs researched by Illusion. Tediously designed interiors of buildings, although not every building was enterable.
But that's the way it goes sometimes.
Real-time car deformations, hydraulics, human collision damage effects. There was penalty for health if crashed.
We have about 60 different cars in game. The city is huge, about 10 square kilometers, so there is complete freedom to ride anywhere we want to. Cars are all based on real cars from the 30s, and there are types like 40, these Auburn speedsters. Many of them can drive over 200 kilometers per hour.
The driving was bit of hard and controlling cars were nightmare though. And what about refueling the cars? Yes, it was so immersive for me that time.
Fill her up, please.
And the speed limiting, oh man, you have to obey the traffic lights or police will chase you. And trust me, it was not like GTA at all. The realism was on another level. Missions were designed dynamically, with each mission taking place in the different regions of the city and countryside. You have to deal with rival gang members as well as with the police.
Take cover! What's going on?
Jesus, who are they?
Fire! Kill the bastards!
Another realistic thing was the gunplay. See, Tommy is not came from mercenaries or a self-made gangster. He had difficulties using guns. The most notable gun was Tommy gun, which was accurately represented in Hidden and Dangerous and used in Mafia 2.
Like that.
We'll have about 2 hours of motion captured animations which will explain the storyline, which is very complex. It reminds of movies like Goodfellas or Godfather, so like we are saying like what consequences of the crime. We don't want to make a game just violence for violence, so storyline is very, very important for us. There will be a lot of dialogues and a lot of NPC characters and all that stuff. So it's not just crazy shooting or anything like this. It's we wanted to recreate the atmosphere of gangster movies with Robert De Niro and something like this.
All the characters in the game had lip syncing and facial animation plus motion capture animations. Although the lighting was so basic and restricted by the hardware, the game still managed to look fantastic.
Wow. Yes!
The attention to small details in the game is quite remarkable.
Get the taste for unlimited power. Enjoy it. But remember, nothing lasts forever.
"18 years later, still Mafia stands out. I made a lot of mistakes with Mafia. The story could have been structured better, the city could have looked a bit different, and I definitely want to change the beginning of the game. There's way too much driving in the first few missions. I had zero experience at the time, but I wanted to create something that no one else was doing. It was that absence of anything like Mafia that really motivated me. I was really proud to finish it, and even more proud that the final product was almost identical to the original vision. This was Vara's vision for the game. Definitive edition of Mafia is already out there when you are watching this video. But if this remake considers the original vision or try to do something new and fresh, I have to see. One thing I definitely remember that the old classic games like Mafia was the pioneer for some narrative-driven games today. The technological backgrounds fascinates me, how those mind-boggling visions were made to pixel formats. If you made this far, I suppose you are a fan of this forgotten gem, and keep playing the games you love.
Freeze! Police! Stop! Vito, this way! Throw me to bed! Stop! I'm gonna shoot!
Shit.